Hello everyone and welcome back to AOR Season 15, round number 5 here for the Spanish Grand Prix. And as you can see, it's a wet qualifying session, which to be honest I didn't really do any wet practice throughout the time I had to practice. I didn't really have too much time to practice because I've been studying for a couple of exams coming up, which obviously is going to take priority over the next few weeks. But I wasn't feeling too bad around this track. I think the setup was feeling pretty decent and just my general pace around here felt really good, and it's a track I quite enjoy. I didn't really have the best race here last season in the wet, where I think I qualified down in 11th or something like that and really didn't make much progress in the race, but this time I'm feeling pretty good and the aim today will be to take the win, and I feel we can hopefully do that. And especially with a wet qualifying session where we're always pretty strong in the wet, I think we can hopefully try and get near the front in qualifying, and then my race pace is looking pretty good. But at this particular moment I was just really trying to get used to how the car was feeling in these conditions, running a dry setup. So obviously it's not ideal for these conditions, but the car was feeling pretty good, and you can see crossing the line now we set a 32.0, which puts us in P4. That's not really a competitive time, and you can see we're about half a second up, but we're going to go into the pits because I knew towards the end of the session is when you're most likely to set your best lap times. And you'll see moving on, we're going to look at my fastest lap. As you can see there, entering the pits, but now looking at my fastest lap. Currently backing off, trying to get a bit of a gap to the car in front so we have some clear road here, as Kaz puts up the fastest time of 31.2. I knew I can probably do a 30 here, so starting the lap I'm going to talk you through it. So getting a good run off the final corner, you can see already 300ths up, heading towards turn number 1, and someone is coming out the pits, which is not ideal heading into turn 1 because that's going to put us off ever so slightly, and it actually has done because we've locked up the right front. I was running quite high brake pressures and I had to go down into gear 3 there through turn 1. You can see we're actually down on our previous best time. Now we've got Nardi off to the side of the track. That's slightly putting us off there, but he gets out of the way very nicely indeed. Is now heading into turn number 4, taking that pretty nicely, and now we're almost a 10th up, so we've managed to gain quite a bit of time there through turn number 4, and now shifting down into 3rd gear, taking that quite nicely, short shifting up through the gears on the exit of the corner. We've got someone just in front of us who's kind of putting us off again. We've slightly missed the apex there, costing us probably about a 10th of a second, not getting the best exit either. Gemzo lets us pass now and taking this corner in 5th gear, taking that pretty nicely, but we're only about 4 tenths up, which I knew it could probably be about 6 or 7 tenths if we managed to get the first corner and the quick chicane a lot better than we did. So we need a good final sector, and so far the final sector's actually been pretty good, and we're currently going purple as well, despite the fact the lap's not being perfect. But I knew I'm going to have to go again because I know we can go quicker, and to me at this stage the conditions looked ever so slightly worse than they were at the start, but that might just be me. I don't really know if it is, but you can see we're over a second up now, so the last sector has gone very well indeed, and crossing the line to set a 30.9, which is definitely a good time, but I know we can go quicker. So down the pit straight once again, braking into turn 1, braking at the 100-meter board, and going 4th gear this time a lot better, not missing the apex at all, getting a good exit as well, and you can see we're 2 tenths up now. So if we can keep this going, this is going to be a pretty insane lap, and now we're almost 3 tenths up. But I knew I did get the last sector pretty much spot on in my previous time. We're still about 2 tenths up, losing a bit of time there through turn number 4, not really getting the best exit either, but now about a 10th up, shifting once again down to 3rd gear, missing the apex slightly there through turn number 5, short shifting up on the exit and heading towards this chicane here where we made a mistake on the last lap, going 4th gear this time, taking it pretty nicely, and we're still 2 tenths up now, so it's looking good for another improvement, which hopefully should be good enough for pole position here. So heading towards the hairpin where we made a lot of time up on the last lap, currently purple, but you can see I've just taken that way too slowly, and we're going 2nd gear and we've got on the curb on the exit. We've lost about 2 or 3 tenths through there, and Synthetic has managed to take pole position, which I knew I've now got to push really hard here because he's now on pole and we need to be in front of him. So pushing very hard there through the chicane as well, and we're not really taking it too well, getting a bad exit as well, and just pushing too hard there through the final corner. We've lost a heap of time and we're not going to improve, so I just retired from here, almost leaving the session there actually, so that was very lucky because I was going to retire, but obviously you crossed the line at the end of the session and I almost ended up leaving the session. But it's P3 on the grid. My teammate Curly on the pad has managed to put it on pole position, so well done to him. But now it is time for the Spanish Grand Prix, so rounding up to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go here for AOR Season 15, round number 5, and it's a decent start. We've already managed to get past Synthetic just about as we adjust the diff, heading towards turn 1, staying in a rich mix now, breaking the 100 metre board, and you can see Synthetic's gone up the inside. We're going to hang it around the outside, and he's just about pushed us off there, and we had to take face of action. We've actually got a legal overtake on him, so we're going to have to let him go, as once again he gives us the squeeze heading around turn 3, and we're going to try and get him back into turn 4. We're going side by side pretty much into turn 4, and we're just about going down the inside, but we're making a bit of contact as well there, so now we've got to be pretty cautious because we don't want to collide with our championship rival. And yeah, I tried my best to get in front. He was pretty aggressive, and it's fair enough, to be honest. When you're trying to defend P2, I'd do the same thing in his situation with someone around the outside of turn 1. So yeah, we're going to remain in P3 for the time being, and I knew at this stage just got to really get into a rhythm and just focus on putting in consistent times really. And once again, my pace in the race was looking pretty good, and I always seem to have decent pace in the race, especially compared to TTs and like F1 esports events and things like that. I just, in these sorts of races, 50%, it's just, yeah, suits my style really. And for example, the time trials for AOR Season 15 entries, they, like my time trial times put me in like 8th or something, and in 50% races I've just got so much more pace than I do in time trial and events and things. So that's really why I'm struggling with the event in F1 esports. But you can see Synthetic try to move down Curly, and I knew that Curly's pace in the dry isn't going to be as strong as his pace in the wet, so I was hoping he'd kind of hold up Synthetic and like push him towards me, where I could hopefully try and make a move and get into P2. And you can see the pace is looking pretty decent already. Us top 3 are sort of pulling away from the cars behind. I think Zokolet's trying to like stick with us, and he's managing to do so for the time being, as the Eagle Killer's out of the race already. And I did a bit of practice with him, and his pace is looking really good, but I think he qualified quite far down, so that really did affect him for this race. But you can see getting right up behind Synthetic now, our championship rival, who's obviously got about 43 points or 46 points I think he had at this stage on me in the championship, as Curly goes defensive. We're all kind of in a line here getting slipstream. Zokolet sets the fastest lap. DRS is enabled now, but obviously we're not using it down this straight here on the start of lap 3, and Synthetic's not able to make the move there. But yeah, we're just going to stay behind him for now. Hopefully we're going to try and make a move here, getting pretty close to the back of him through turn 3. The dirty air's kind of affecting us as well, as going towards turn 4. We're going to look to the inside there, but that's really just to put him off. I wasn't going for any kind of move at that stage in the race. And you can see going into turn 5 now, he's left the door wide open, so we're going to go down the inside, going for a bit of 50-50 move there, which was never really going to work, although I did try it. But I was hoping we'd go side by side into these S's, but it didn't quite work. And he's made a bit of a mistake there through the S's as well, as now going into this flat out, well, pretty much flat out right hander, we touched the grass on the entry, and that's allowed Zokolet to get right up behind us now, heading towards the hairpin. So breaking the 100 metre board, he's going to try it around the outside here, and we're going to be pretty aggressive with him because we want to hold on to this P3 if we're going to have any chance of beating Synthetic today. As I shift down into gear 3 there, which was a mistake. I thought I was in gear 5 going into gear 4, but I was actually in gear 4. But those sorts of things happens when you're in a battle like that, so we just got to get back into our rhythm now here on pretty much the start of lap 4 now, going down the straight, and DRS open onto lap 4. Synthetic is right up behind Curly, and I knew Curly's really got to defend here to help us, and we weren't really working as a team together, but obviously we're going to help each other in terms of constructors. And Synthetic just holds behind him for now, and you can see moving on to the end of lap 4, going on to the start of lap 5, Curly still holds on to the lead, but Synthetic now is in the slipstream. He's got the DRS as well down the straight, and we're just going to try and get a bit of slipstream off him. But I think Synthetic had lower wings than us, as we set 21.6, which is kind of decent pace. As he goes around the outside now of Curly, goes off the track I think there, but he's got in front. He's into P1 now, and I knew that we've just got to really try and get past Curly as quickly as possible in order to have a chance of beating Synthetic here. And obviously with the lack of practice, I didn't get any time to run the hards. I think I got like 2 laps on the hards in practice, so I didn't really know what my pace was like there. But going for the cutback on Curly, not quite making the move stick there, but yeah, as I was saying, I haven't really got any practice on the hard tyres, and I've stuck with 510 wings and 10 ballast, which I was intending on running 410, but seeing as I qualified in P3 and I knew Curly was running similar wings to me, I knew that 510, I knew that my pace was better with that, and I stuck with it for the race, which I was hoping would work, and it did seem like my pace in the middle sector, in the last sector especially, were really, really good as we go right up behind Curly there, making a bit of contact. A spark flew off my front wing there, as now heading through the final sector and going to third gear, now second gear, getting right up behind him now, and I knew that we've got to get past him now on this lap. So going around the final corner into rich mix, DRS open in the slipstream, but you can see the slipstream is pretty much non-existent here. We're running pretty much the same wings and it's not really giving us anything here. So down the outside we go, braking into turn 1, fourth gear. He's going to defend as best he can, getting pretty close. We don't want to take out our teammate. Bit of oversteer on the exit, and we're going to hang it around the outside flat out here through turn 3. Fernando Alonso-esque, banging wheels a bit with Curly, heading towards turn 4 now, still side by side as we bang wheels once again, making a pretty bold statement here, going around the outside, and we've managed to hold on to P2, making a pretty nice move. I think that's one of the best moves I've pulled on anyone really in AOR season 14, 15, maybe not compared to some of the moves I did in F2 back in season 13, F1 2016, where it was a lot easier really to overtake. But you can see through that Synthetics pretty much got a 2-second gap, so we lost quite a bit of time there, and I knew now we've just got to try and pull away and try to catch up with him. He's gone a bit wide, and so have we. We locked up. I was running like 87 brake pressure, which when it worked, when I didn't lock up, it felt really, really nice, but when you lock up like that, there's nothing you can do to stop the car really. And you can see now moving on to lap 11, extending the stint slightly, obviously starting on fresh soft tyres, and the gap's pretty much the same to Synthetic now as we now head into the pits a lap earlier than him, and hopefully we can get the undercut here. But around this track the overcut seems to work pretty well, but at this stage my tyres were on like 50-60%, so I knew I had to just come in and try and get the undercut, because that's the only thing I could do really to get in front at this stage in the race. So going out on the hard tyres, going to the end, 22 laps on these tyres, and we need to get out in some clean air, and we've managed to do that. Got out in front of Jim Pasty and obviously Kink in front in P12. He's quite a bit in front on the hard tyres, so he'll be extending the stint as we go a bit wide there, once again locking up through turn 1 and actually getting the warning for exceeding track limits, and I think that was my second one of the race at this stage. So yeah, we need to be careful of that, not to get a penalty. But yeah, from now in the remainder of this outlap, we just got to push as hard as we can if we want to get in front of Synthetic here. And going third gear now through turn number 5, and I was feeling pretty decent. And one thing I've struggled with on the harder tyres is just understeer, and with the 510 wings it felt a lot better here today. So now going on to lap 13, you can see a lot of cars exiting the pits. I think Synthetic's just about going to be in front of us, but we have closed the gap down on him, which is what I wanted to do, as someone's taking out the brake marker board into turn number 1 there, which made it a bit more difficult to spot your braking point. But he's about a second in front of us now compared to 2 seconds earlier on. We're going to see the gap here, and yeah, it's 1.2, so we've gained time. It's now moving on to lap 15. Synthetics caught up with Ovidi Kink, and I knew that Ovidi Kink, he usually runs a different strategy to a lot of people, I think, because he qualifies outside the top 10. He starts in the harder tyre. He did that in Australia and China, and he's doing the same here today, and he's defending from Synthetic, and I was hoping he'd defend pretty hard from him so that I can catch up to him. And you can see already, yeah, if you look at the fuel, we're already pretty tight on fuel already, and we're going lean through the last sector, and it's only lap 15. So in the first stint I did run rich quite a bit, and that was a mistake from myself, but there's nothing we can do now, and we've just got to go standard throughout the whole lap and then go lean in the last sector, which is not ideal, but that's what happens when you push a bit too hard there in the first stint. You can see Synthetic's gone around the outside of Ovidi Kink into turn number 1 and turn number 2, and he's managed to make that move stick. So I knew now that once again, like we had with Curly, we've got to try and get past Ovidi Kink as quickly as possible to not lose too much time to Synthetics. I knew Synthetics lost quite a bit of time there with him, and if we don't lose anything, then we're going to be right on him pretty much, and we're going to be in DRS detection zone as well. So Going through the middle sector now, heading towards the S's, taking this in 4th gear, taking that pretty nicely, almost cutting the corner. Watch out for the step of oversteer on the second part of the S's there, but we've got DRS down this back straight and we're heading towards the hairpin. You can see we're actually going to go down the inside here, braking really late, going for a Daniel Ricciardo style move to try and get past him as quickly as possible, bashing wheels there on the exit. 4th gear through here, and we're going to try and hang it around the outside, but that's not really going to work, and we're going to have to go back down into lean here in the final sector, and that's not ideal because we've lost quite a bit of time there with him, and all this time here through the last sector we're just losing ground to synthetic. So going up to standard now, down the pit straight, opening DRS, and you can see just how non-existent the slipstream is. Look at this, I'm not gaining anything whatsoever with slipstream, with DRS and everything. You can see we're going to brake so late, going right around the outside of him there, 5th gear, and that was once again a really nice move, and that just shows that we've got a lot of strength on the brakes really with the settings I was running, and I always seem to be pretty strong on the brakes as well, so that's definitely good signs when it comes to having to overtake people. But you can see now moving on to lap 19, and synthetic has now caught up to McLaren of, I think it's Super Scrub, and once again he's also running a different strategy as well. So like with Ovidi Kink, I was hoping he'd hold up synthetic and bring him towards me so that I could try and launch an attack on him in the last 13 or so laps. And heading around the final chicane, you can see he's still right up behind him here, and down the straight he goes. He's got DRS now, so all we can do at this stage is watch, and as we set a 21.4, which is decent pace at this stage in the race. I don't really know what good pace was, to be honest, because of the lack of practice, but you can see heading into turn 1 he's not got the move done, and I expected him really to be a bit more aggressive with these, I'm not going to say back markers because they're not back markers, but people running alternate strategies, and it turned out he's losing a lot of time here, so maybe he needs to go for a couple more aggressive moves. You can see the gap's 1.5 seconds, so we did lose quite a bit of time with Ovidi Kink, but we're gaining time right now. Every corner we go into we're gaining a lot of time, and I was hoping like Super Scrub could just hold him up as much as possible. So approaching synthetic's next real overtaking place, which is the back straight opposite of DRS, and heading towards the hairpin. He's going to go down the inside here. Super Scrub hasn't really fought him too hard here, so he's gone down the inside, and we are now, we're pretty much in DRS zone of Super Scrub and hopefully synthetic as well. And I knew that now it's our time really to overtake him. So on lap 20 now, I was hoping we're going to catch up to him before the pit straight so I get DRS and hopefully I can make a move. But you can see here he's actually gone into the pit, so that's worked out perfectly for us there because we haven't been held up by him at all. And now we are within DRS of synthetic, so despite the fact we're going to have less straight line speed than him, and despite the fact that slipstream's pretty much gone, I believe we can still fight for this win here today, and the pace is looking good enough to do so. And we've just got to be pretty consistent from here, and it's another 10 laps to go now, and yeah, just got to put in consistent and quick times and hopefully pressurise him into a mistake. So heading 3rd gear, round the chicane, short shifting up through the gears now, and we're pretty close to him. Going standard mix, once again we haven't got too much fuel, setting a 21.0, so gradually as the fuel wears down we're setting quicker and quicker lap times, and you can just see we're not gaining on him at all down the straight, and that's because of the wings I'm running and also because of the lack of DRS. So he was actually pulling away even though I had slipstream, DRS and everything, and that's pretty frustrating. And I knew since the last game where slipstream was just too powerful, on this game it's not powerful enough, so hopefully that'll be corrected for F1 2018. But you can see moving on here to lap 26, we are the closest we've been all race. We're within 0.6 of a second now, so this is looking good here to hopefully pressurise him into a mistake once again. And going lean through the last sector, where obviously going in lean is not really going to affect your speed, and we're now right up behind him effectively here. And I was trying to use the classic Valentino Rossi technique of sitting behind your rival and trying to pressurise them into a mistake, studying where they're weak and where they're strong on the track and trying to make an opportunity out of it. But the only real overtaking place around here is turn 1, and it was looking very difficult with my lack of straight line speed. So we just got to see what we can do here in these remaining 7 laps. But the dirty air was obviously affecting me as well, but the pace was still there. It was pretty insane times we're setting. We're now setting 20.8s, which is pretty amazing race pace, and myself, Synthetic and Kaz are all looking very, very fast compared to the rest in this race. So moving on to the end of lap 28, once again, still it's the same situation. He just pulls away out of that chicane. That chicane I absolutely hate, because in real life F1 as well, it just destroys the racing. Like, you can get a good run using the old track, but using that chicane they just pull away, and it really does prevent overtaking, which I think they should change back, but I don't know if they'll ever do that due to, I think they changed because it was dangerous or something, I'm not too sure. But going standard mix, you can just see how the dirty air was affecting me there through turn 3, and we still haven't got a penalty at this stage, and I think Synthetic had one at this stage, although when I was driving obviously I have no idea of whether the car in front has a penalty or not. I did however know that Kaz had a penalty behind me, so I didn't really need to worry about him at this stage in the race, because the engineer said on the radio that Kaz had a penalty, so I didn't really need to worry about him. It was just all about focusing on Synthetic in front and trying to pass him, and it turned out that he had a penalty, so I didn't really need to push too hard, because at this stage I'm effectively the race leader, and you can see the pace is really, really good now, setting the, well, not purple sector 1 but personal best sector 2, sorry, not sector 1, but going around the final sector, once again having to go into lean mix to save the fuel, because I just used it up too quickly at the start really. But this lap we're really, really quite close to him. We're starting to put him under a bit of pressure here, so going straight up into standard on the exit. I wish I could use rich in the straight, but obviously I haven't saved enough fuel for that, and setting a 20.7, which is pretty insane race pace actually. I'd never gone this far in the race when I practiced, so I didn't really know what kind of pace it would be like, as the brake marker board there is missing at turn number 1, so that makes it quite a bit more difficult there to spot your braking point. But going around turn 3 and once again getting a lot of understeers, we actually go off the track there and get an exceeding track limits warning, and that's given us our 3rd warning and a 3-second time penalty, so that effectively has cost us the victory. And obviously I had no idea that it cost me the victory when I was driving, but to be honest I lost time through doing that, so I shouldn't really get a warning for that. But anyway, moving on, you can see we're actually getting another warning. So originally I thought maybe I could take that to the stewards to try and get that warning removed, but obviously getting another warning just after means that even if the other one didn't count, I'd still have a penalty anyway. But both of them I went off the track ever so slightly. It wasn't really exceeding track limits that much as like real life drivers do around tracks like America, but it was enough to get me a penalty on the game. And the corner cutting is not on strict, I think it's on regular, but yeah, still the pace is looking really, really good, and Synthetic has managed to extend the gap a bit, but still with 2.5 laps to go I was hoping he had a penalty, and we were still going to push as hard as possible now. So in these final few laps we're just going to absolutely push the best we can as we get another warning through that same corner. So that's just effectively, yeah, prove that I'm pushing maybe a bit too hard here, but at this stage in the race you just got nothing to lose. But now we've got 2 warnings on top of the first penalty that we got, so we need to be careful not to get a third, else we will get a second penalty, which may demote me down behind Kaz into P3. But still, we're going to push as hard as possible here in the final 2 laps, and heading around the chicane. We're not going to be close enough this lap to challenge Synthetic down the straight, and I think he was running 410 wings whilst I was running 510, so yes, it's really quite difficult for us to get through. But he set a 20.6 there, which is, I think that turned out to be my fastest lap of the race, and once again that's pretty good pace to have. But here on the final lap, heading into the final sector, Synthetic has managed to handle the pressure from me really, really well, so well done to him. He thoroughly deserved the win. He drove very, very well, as he has done for the rest of the season so far, so he's definitely going to be tough to beat. And I am going to miss the final round of the season as well, so, and I think maybe I might miss one of the rounds midway through the season due to exams, so it's definitely, obviously with Baku and China not going that well through no fault of my own, it's now very, very difficult for me to win the championship. And with Synthetic driving as well as he is, I can't see it happening, because obviously I lost a lot of points through a game glitch in China and being in the wrong place at the wrong time at Baku, and missing Brazil due to my first ever competitive kart race, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And also I think it's Spa that I might be missing due to engineering exams and things like that. So definitely, yeah, it's not looking like it's going to be my season this year, but still I'm just going to try my absolute best and keep picking up good results representing my esports team Veloce. So thank you very much for watching, and you can see the top 3 all had penalties. Chicken in 4th did not, and you can see the results there. It's going into race director, and I think here we're just going to look at some of the lap times I set, showing that we got pretty good and consistent pace. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Leave a like if you have, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you very soon for a brand new video. Goodbye.